Every spring, I walk into Toronto houses where sellers just spent about $60K on a renovation, and I have to find a polite way to let them know they're not going to get their money back. New quartz counter in a kitchen that needed paint. A gut renovated bathroom in a house where everybody walked in and stared at the dated light fixtures instead. The renovation was beautiful, but also the wrong move. If your house feels outdated, and you think about selling, the biggest mistake you can make is assuming you need a full remodel. You don't. Most of what makes a Toronto home feels old to buyers costs very little to fix. And most of what costs a fortune to fix is not what buyers are reacting to anyways. And here's the thing about buyers that took me years to fully accept. They shop emotionally. Most buyers decide how they feel about your home within the first few minutes of walking through the door. And sometimes within seconds of standing in the front hall. And what triggers this place is old feeling is almost never the furnace or the roof. It is dark paint colors, yellow lighting, heavy curtains, brass hardware from 1994, and clutter. Perception, not condition. The good news is that perception is cheap to change. So let me walk you through what actually works in the order I would spend my money. Paint. If I could only recommend one thing before selling, that's it. Fresh paint makes a home feel cleaner, brighter, larger, and more modern. And it's the cheapest transformation available to you. Painting most of the interior of a typical Toronto semi runs a few $1,000s. It routinely changes how buyers respond to the entire house. Neutral colors appeal to the widest pool of buyers. That does not mean everything has to be sterile white, but if you still have red dining room, the yellow kitchen, or a dark green accent wall from 15 years ago, it's time. Toronto buyers are walking out of stage, freshly painted competing listings and straight into your house. That's the comparison you're up against. And I'm not just talking about walls. Paint the kitchen cabinets, paint the bathroom vanity, paint the interior doors, the trim, the front door. A painted cabinet with new hardware can make a kitchen feel current for a couple of $1,000s instead of $40 to $60K. A Toronto kitchen renovation, that's what it actually costs. Buyers love a bright kitchen, and they cannot tell the difference between a $2,000 refresh and a much bigger spend nearly as often as sellers think. Next, it's lighting. This is the most overlooked item on the list. Old brass fixtures, dim rooms, and yellow bulbs date a property instantly. Toronto has a huge stock of houses built from 1950 to 1960s where the original fixtures are still hanging. And every one of them tells buyers the house has not been touched. You can modernize a house just by swapping fixtures, ceiling fans, and vanity lights. And sometimes maybe just the bulbs. So get rid of those yellow lighting. Soft white LED bulbs make a home feel cleaner and newer immediately. Buyers do not consciously notice the lighting, and they absolutely feel it. Dark house reads as an old house, even when it's not. Hardware, cabinet pulls, doorknobs, hinges, faucets, towel bars. Each piece is cheap, and together they quietly control how maintained your home feels. When buyers see worn gold hardware and mismatched finishes, the message is neglect. Matte black, brushed nickel, or chrome instantly reads as current. This is a weekend project. Even if you're not handy, this is a screwdriver level work, something I could probably do. A few $100s, and it changes how every room shows. I have watched buyers open kitchen drawers and cabinets on every single showing. They touch the hardware more than anything else in the house. Declutter and lose the heavy decor. A lot of Toronto homes do not need updating at all. They need less stuff in them. Heavy furniture, dark curtains, oversized decor, and walls of personal photos make rooms feel smaller and older. This matters double in Toronto, where the average semi is not huge to begin with, and every foot of visual space, it counts. The goal is not to make your house feel empty. The goal is to let buyers picture their own life in it. You're no longer decorating for you. You're preparing a product for market. I know that sounds cold. I know sellers are emotionally attached to their home, but the buyer needs room to get emotionally attached to, and they cannot do that around your stuff. If you think about selling in Toronto this year, subscribe. I put up videos every week on what's actually happening in this market and how to make smarter decisions with the biggest asset you own. If you subscribe, it helps me keep on making videos just like this. Flooring, but strategically. Here's where sellers overspend. They think they need new flooring throughout the entire house. Sometimes you do. Most of the time, you don't. If the carpet is stained, destroyed, or holding smells, replace it. If you have 3 different flooring types colliding on one floor, simplify. But often, a deep cleaning and a carpet stretch gets you the most of the way for a fraction of the cost. If you do replace flooring, consistency matters more than luxury. Buyers respond better to simple, clean, consistent floors than expensive material in one floor and 4 other materials around it. This comes up constantly in older Toronto houses where 60 years of renovations left hardwood in the living room, tile in the hall, laminate in the kitchen, and carpet on the stairs. You don't need to fix all of it. Fix the worst of it and make the remaining feel intentional. Let's talk about the outside. You get one first impression. In Toronto, the buyer has usually formed it before the showing even starts. Standing on the sidewalk while the agent fumbles with the lockbox. Mulch, a pressure wash walkway, new house numbers, working exterior lights, a freshly painted front door. None of this is expensive. All of it says the home has been cared for. If the outside feels neglected, buyers walk in the door looking for problems. That is the exact opposite of the mindset you want them to have. If you're going to spend real money anywhere, spend it where buyers care most. Kitchens, bathrooms, but spend it on presentation, not gut renovation. Painted cabinets, new hardware, a new mirror, updated light fixtures, fresh caulking around the tub, the toilet, and the sink, and maybe new faucets. Fresh caulking costs almost nothing and quietly answers the question every buyer is silently asking in a bathroom. Has water been getting where it should not be getting? Buyers pay more attention to clean and current than whether your countertop is this year's trend. And remember what you're competing against. In Toronto, most serial listings are professionally staged. Your kitchen does not have to beat a renovation. It has to hold its own against a staged version of a kitchen just like yours, 3 streets over. And let me put staging in perspective for a second, because sellers ask me about it constantly. Professionally staging a whole house in Toronto typically runs anywhere from a few thousand to about $10,000, depending on the size of the home and how much furniture comes in. And it is usually worth it because staging does exactly what this entire list does. It controls how buyers feel in the first minute. But here's the part sellers miss. Staging works best on a house that already has the cheap fixes done. Stagers will tell you this themselves. Beautiful rental furniture sitting under a yellow 1980s light fixture against a dark red wall next to worn gold handles does not fool anyone. Do the paint, lighting, and the hardware first, then stage. That order is where it makes the staging money work for you. Do not over improve. I repeat, do not over improve. This is the expensive mistake. Sellers renovate for the neighborhood they wish they lived in instead of the one they actually live in. If every house on your street is dated, a luxury remodel does not lift your sale price to match your spend. It just makes you the most expensive house on a street that cannot support that price. I've seen Toronto sellers spend $100,000 chasing an extra $50,000 in value. That math doesn't work and no marketing condition fixes it. Your target is updated and competitive for your street, not a magazine spread. And you have no budget at all? Here's the one that costs nothing but effort. Deep clean everything. Windows, baseboards, inside cabinets, grout, showers, fans, light switches. A spotless home reads as a maintained home. A dirty home makes buyers wonder what else was neglected. And they extend that doubt to the furnace, the roof, and everything they cannot see. So dollar for dollar, this might be the highest return item on this entire list. At the end of the day, buyers are not walking through your house calculating construction costs. They're asking one question: can I picture myself living here? If the home feels bright, clean, and move-in ready, they forgive a lot. I say a version of this to my buyers all the time. When it's the right house, you know it within a minute. If you're trying to convince yourself, it's not the house. So here's what the whole list adds up to in practice. Take a house that shows dark, dated, and tired. Paint it top to bottom. Swap the light fixtures and the bulbs. Change the hardware. Pull down the heavy curtains. Clean up the front yard. That package costs a small fraction of a renovation, and it changes the first 60 seconds of every single showing, which is the only 60 seconds most buyers use to make up their mind. You don't need a full renovation to maximize your sale price. You need to change how buyers experience the house in the first minute. Spend your money there and keep the $60,000 in your pocket.